forward. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna give you from my part a brief presentation about Latvian anticipation of Horizon Europe program, especially in the context of previous results in Horizon 2020 framework program, and in some cases even before. So good morning, colleagues from the Commission and other all of today's participants who are interested in the upcoming framework program, either as participants or representing their institutions who will be heavily involved in this program. But first of all, I'm going to give you a brief overview about key research facts that define Latvian research and innovation ecosystem. We have 5 key smart specialization areas, and these areas from 21 until 2027 remain the same as they were before. Right now, only in the last few years, we are slowly seeing our first major research niches and detailed specialization projects that are happening within these teams. So we at least until 2027, our specialization priority focus remain unchanged. Overall, when we look at our research system, we are roughly speaking at the moment about 200 million euros a year, with 0.64% invested from GDP, a number that is on the lower scale when we compare ourselves with other European countries, and it's one of our priorities to increase it. We see that about a quarter of our companies are active in innovations. And when we look at from the institutional side, we have 64 research institutions currently in Latvia. A lot of them are small and specializing in specific 1 or 2 research projects or project proposals. But from the public side, we have 22 state-funded research institutions. And overall, when we speak about the research and innovation ecosystem in Latvia, we speak about a bit more than 12,000 people who are working in research, which is approximately 6,000 when we look at full-time equivalents. And our research strengths lies in the fact that we have a compact, modern, and effective research and innovation ecosystem. We have some areas with when we compare ourselves with other countries with high research quality, especially in some fields in medicine, engineering and technology, and natural sciences. In terms of volume in a lot of areas in natural sciences and engineering and technology, we have a high number of publications and high relative research activity and specialization we see in a lot of fields in agricultural sciences and engineering and technology. Also, 2021 is not just the year when Horizon Europe is launched. This is also a year where we defined our new research policy priorities until 21, and it was also a time that allowed us to reflect on what has happened in our system in last 6 or 7 years. And overall, if we see out the major changes that has happened in our research innovation system since 2014, we see a considerable growth and increase in personal effectiveness of our researchers. Our average performance of research has greatly increased, especially keeping in mind the context that research investments remained relatively stagnant. On governance and organization, we had progress with institutional consolidation based on previous research assessment. We greatly reduced our research fragmentation, and right now we see that for a lot of these consolidated research institutions, we need more time for these mergers to stabilize. When it comes to links with industry, we had some progress, but we still see that on a lot of cases, the target indicators and financial incentives that were made to foster these activities, they were not enough. They're relatively formal, and they often had relatively limited impact on funding, and we see that as something that we need to improve as well. And we see that one of the areas where we need most urgent progress comes when it comes is with research excellence. Right now, our research excellence is, I would say, scattered amongst many islands of performance, and we need to greatly increase the volume of our research excellence in our system. For that, we have our new research, innovation, and technology policy guidelines for 21-27, where, to summarize, our main issues lie with the need to have sufficient support for research and development. Our target indicator is 1.5%, and it is also tied with sufficient additional investments from public funds, especially for government funding for research. We also see that meaningful growth and changes in our research system is impossible without growth in human capital. We see the need to have at least 8,000 research workers in full-time equivalent until 2027, which is 2,000 more than we have right now. And also, in order to achieve this, we need to have a diverse and competitive, and I would say even more diverse and even more competitive research system that is, of course, heavily tied with our success on an international scale, especially Horizon Europe program. On the internal governance side, this is also a topic that is directly related with the reforms that we are having, not just in research but also in higher education. Our newly approved law on higher education governance is one of the ways how to address the urgent need for reforms in higher education, which will foster modernization of our higher education system and necessity for governing councils. And our new internal higher education governance model, together with new academic career model, new doctoral training framework that was approved last year and will be implemented shortly, together with changes in our higher education and also in our research funding instruments, is necessary background to achieve it. And to put it simply, our higher education's internal governance model is mostly related to the need to empower external stakeholders in strategic decision-making through councils, through more appropriate and efficient organizational structures, to a more strategic institutional governance, to increased academic and non-academic professionalism of all staff, and through strong leadership. And this is also, in this area, international research programs and at Horizon Europe plays a part as well. When it comes to, I would say, some of the critical aspects that we need to address in our research innovation system for human capital, it is directly related to need to further develop our research renewal. Right now, when we look at our doctoral number of doctoral degrees that are obtained each year, when we adjust them by population, we are currently lowest in European Union. Of course, we have to keep in mind that doctoral degrees in countries is directly tied with the number of researchers. But even if we put that adjustment, still at the moment Latvia has smaller renewal for young researchers than is needed to even sustain the current amount of researchers. And in this area, this is where our new doctoral training model is addressing, together with planned expansion of some of our research grant programs that would allow for greater renewal. And also, this is an issue not just with the number of entrants, but mostly with high dropout rate that we see right now. Moving on to Horizon Europe program, we first have to look, and in order to see the detailed potential that we have within the new program, there's, I would say, no better way to look than at the results that we had in Horizon 2020 program. As Jānis mentioned in his speech, Latvia has had great results in this program. We obtained more than 140 million euros of European Commission's funding in this program, and what's more important, our performance in this program in terms of volume is higher than in all 3 previous framework programs combined. And we see that the interest in this program and the results were significantly higher. The only I would say downside is that the success rate decreased, but it's not a problem unique to Latvia. It happened all across all countries due to the overall increased interest about participation in this program. And what's also good is that in recent years there has been a great increase in participation from enterprises. Out of these 114 million euros, a bit more than 30 million euros come from the business side, which also shows the potential not just our public sector has, but also our enterprises have in participation in this program. If we look into more detail, if we break down Horizon 2020 funding by year, by call sign, we also see a positive trend that with, I would say, a relatively slow start, the amount of projects increased by each year with more than 20 million euros each year in 2018 and in 2020. And also, if we look at our results in Horizon 2020 as a percentage of our total R&D spending, we are having it at around 10% of our all research ecosystem, which among European Union countries is in, I would say, a stable second place, only behind Cyprus. So amongst European Union countries, this is a program that plays a much larger role than in countries like Germany or France or Spain. Also, we see the direct impact Horizon 2020 has on our research international collaboration. In recent years, our research international collaboration as percentage of our total research output has not just steadily increased, but also surpassed the European Union average. And it is related to 2 main factors. One is, in recent years, extended participation in different international research and also higher education consortiums, projects and activities. But mostly we see the tremendous role Horizon 2020 has towards internationalization of our research system. Still, I have to note that even though right now it is more than 50% of all of our research output that is done in some collaboration with international partners, when we look at other similarly small countries, there's still room to grow, and we look at further progress in this area as well. What also is noticeable, if we're looking at how our international collaboration patterns have shifted. One of the main changes that has happened, the overall volume of course increased since our research sector and research output grew, but also our research collaboration pattern is slowly but steadily in recent years shifting away from former USSR countries to Western Europe and Europe in general. And we see this huge role Horizon 2020 has in opening our research sector towards our partners across European Union. Also, when we speak about other areas, not just in Horizon Europe, but also on our national policy planning level, open science is among our new priorities. When we look at our research output and how much of it is published in open access journals, we see that also slowly and steadily open access is growing in Latvia, and this is directly related related with our initiatives that we are having, and we are at the moment developing our open science strategy that puts emphasis on these topics. And also will be directly related with our participation in the European Open Science Cloud activities. Also, when we look at Horizon 2020 program, we have to note, and this was noted in the previous speeches, of course, that when we compare our structure of our results with the program in general, we see that we have some niches that are more interesting for Latvia than it is for other countries. When we look at Horizon 2020, even though in Horizon 2020 about 1% of the total budget of the program went to widening activities, for Latvia it is more than almost 30%. This one small fraction of the program plays a tremendous role for our results, and it is crucial to bridge the gap that happens in research innovation across Europe. When it comes to industrial leadership and societal challenges part, this is important for us. We see that we are performing well, but it depends on the theme, of course, and our, I would say, still unresolved challenge is limited ability to fully participate in excellent science activities, especially when it comes to European Research Council grants. Going into more detail, these challenges to participate in the highest level research excellence projects in Europe is, of course, not just unique to Latvia. This is a divide that is happening across Europe, especially between so-called old Europe and new European member states. We could look at it from a lot of different ways, but they mostly show the same picture. For example, if we look at how many European Research Council grants were awarded in a 10-year period, adjusted by a number of researchers a country has. We see that Latvia, together with a lot of new European Union countries, is underperforming by magnitude of 3 to 4 times, sometimes even more. And therefore, but we also see some examples in some countries in new European Union countries that have achieved some progress, and mostly these are related to national level activities that emphasize research excellence more. We also see that as I said, we can map it from a lot of different ways, and our research quality still is lagging behind average level in European Union. And as I mentioned, research excellence is defined as our priority targets from 21 to 27. When we look at the industrial aspect of the Horizon 2020, we also, as I mentioned, have specific thematic areas where we are, I would say, overperforming and achieving really good results in all leadership and enabling and industrial technologies. We see that when we look at this whole part, about 70% of all Latvian results are in information and communication technologies, and best results in this team is for Tilde University of Latvia, Institute of Electronics and Computer Science, Riga Technical University, and Leta. We see that our ICT sector is considerably more active and considerably greater ability for it to participate in European networks than in other areas where we still, in a lot of them, are still relatively underperforming. This is also I think a good place where we should mention our business sector and its success in Horizon 2020, and this is I would say a really interesting graph, because overall our business sector's participation in Horizon 2020 is somewhat linked with the size of the sector in our research and innovation system. But 2020 was an exception, and we really hope that this was not an exceptional anomaly, and that this positive trend will continue, because in 2020 our business projects in Horizon 2020 were almost as large as previously in previous years. And also business sector has relatively similar rates for Horizon 2020 participation. A bit less than 10% of all business R&D spending comes from Horizon 2020. This is an area where not just Ministry of Education and Science is responsible. It is directly related with Ministry of Economics and Latvian Investment and Development Agency policy towards innovation, which is defined in our recently approved National Industrial Policy Guidelines. And right now there are 3 active research and innovation value chain ecosystems related to smart specialization areas in smart cities, photonics and smart materials and biomedicine. And in these value chain ecosystems, successful participation for businesses in Horizon Europe is defined as priorities as well. To briefly put into context our results in innovation for SMEs, overall we see that we had good results in this part of the program. But when we look at when we judge it with other parts of Horizon 2020, but we also see that it mostly comes from one enterprise that has managed to get a second stage project, Lightspace Technologies. And overall, I want to note that we also see that for especially small and medium enterprises, where the overall success rate for participation is low, 4%, which is much lower than in the other parts of the program. We see that after 1 or 2 submitted proposals, a lot of enterprises just drop out and don't continue. But we see that those enterprises that continue to see this as a priority have much better results if they continue. For societal challenges, this is a part of the program where we see a relatively balanced structure in the framework program, with 2/3 of the program results in energy, food, and health, but also transport, inclusive, innovative, and reflective societies, and climate part for some institutions is important as well. And we see that in this area, it is mostly public institutions who are achieving the best results. For spreading excellence and widening participation, when we compare Latvian results with other countries in this part of the program, for us, it's mostly been about being successful in teaming projects, in 2 teaming projects, CAMART and Baltic Biomaterials Center, while we still don't see. We didn't, in this framework program, didn't see a way how to fully capitalize on AeroChairs or other parts of this program. And concluding my presentation, in the end, I will put briefly I would say ambitions for the next framework program. Our national target that we defined is to have 0.2% of total Horizon Europe funding for Latvian institutions that are participating, which is a bit higher than we are having in the Horizon 2020 program, and it is similar with our GDP share that we are having amongst European countries. But we also see that in order to achieve this goal, in order to fully capitalize on Horizon Europe program, and the fact that a lot of the parts on the new framework program, for example, widening part is 3 times larger, and this is good news for Latvian participation. In order to achieve that, we of course need to do, I would say, our homework. We need to find ways how to severely increase our government R&D investment, which is amongst the lowest in Europe. And also it is especially for the business side, further growth in Horizon Europe is tied with how well business R&D investment and capacity will grow in the upcoming years. And in order to do that, we also have a wide range of national research and development programs that are either directly or indirectly linked with Horizon Europe. Directly linked programs include European funds that for support for Horizon Europe participation, either for European partnerships, funding for above threshold projects, or funding for successful widening projects for where it will be relevant, and funds allocated for that are relatively high, significant, and it will boost our performance, no doubt. We also have national budget proposed for it as well, in form of government funding for European partnerships that will hopefully allow us to successfully integrate in this new part of the framework program. And also we have open science support for structural funds as well. But also wanted to note that we have a lot of programs that are indirectly supporting and indirectly responsible for our success in the program, from the government programs like basic research funding, fundamental and applied research grants, and other that are crucial, especially, for example, for our successful participation in the excellent science pillar. We have continuous structural fund programs like practical oriented research grants and smart specialization centers of excellence. That is our infrastructure funding for the next period, postdoctoral program and also our recovery and resilience instruments are directly related to our indirectly related to our successful participation as well. And when it comes to innovation projects and participation of our enterprises, wide range of support programs that Ministry of Economics has will indirectly work towards that as well. And to conclude, our next steps for successful Latvian participation in Horizon Europe, to summarize our timely development of our new R&D investment programs, need to have adjusted national legislation that is ready for Horizon Europe, because right now in a lot of legislation it is still tied with Horizon 2020, and this is a job that since the regulation is completed and approved, we are doing and we will do this year. As I mentioned, and as Minister mentioned in her speech, public funding increase for research. It is crucial to at least double it from where we are now, and also intensified business R&D investment. Our participation, successful participation in European partnerships based on national priorities and available funding. And of course, it is related to the upcoming reforms in higher education and research governance, and strengthened research and innovation analytical capacity and national contact points. Thank you. Sorry that I was a couple of minutes above my allocated time.